again.
Stravete.
And welcome back to our little Bulgarian adventure.
Well, we definitely are getting the end of autumn, beginning of winter weather.
Yes, we've had quite a miserable week, haven't we?
It's been cold, it's been wet.
Very unusual for us, we're just not used to it, so it's taken a little bit of adapting.
Yeah. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, but we didn't prepare very well, did we?
I don't think you ever properly prepare yourself for the bad weather.
No, we didn't have enough lists of indoor jobs
No.
and bits to get on with while it was miserable outside.
But knowing that bad weather was coming meant I had to get up on the roof. There were a few bits and pieces I had to finish off. Here's what I did with the chimney. Well, we come back to the chimney with the edges bits nice and firmly in. It's all set up nicely, ready for the final coat of render. What I've done this morning is I've given this a quick rub over to get any loose bits off, and also run a line to make sure that I've got nothing standing too proud. There are a few bits at the bottom which are a little bit proud, but the flashing's going there, so I think I can get away with that. It's the top and the sides that I'm most concerned about, all the way down to about this kind of level. So what I'm going to do now is wet down the surface. I've done a little bit, but I'm going to wet it again, mix up my render, put it on and try and level it off. Let's see how it goes. So I've got render on all of the sides, so I've gone across it with the metal bar to smooth it out as much as I can, but as you can see there are still bits here where it's not overly smooth. Now what I've been told to do is press it. If I can't press it and need fingerprints but can still move the surface, I'm supposed to then go over it with a float. Don't know if it'll work, but I'll give it a go. I know technically this isn't technically a float, but let's have a look. So it's been a couple of days now since I did the rendering. I smoothed it out a bit. It's not the smoothest finish, but it's good enough. What I need to do now is prime the render so it's ready for painting. I'm going to do that with a PVA glue mix and just basically paint it on, let it set up, and then I can paint it. Once that's done, I can do the flashing, I can finish off the top bit, but one stage at a time. Let's get this primed. So that's the concrete rendering done. That should set up. I've put some antifreeze in the concrete, some concrete antifreeze, so that it doesn't get damaged if we do have a freeze overnight. Hopefully that will keep it watertight. I'll monitor it tomorrow when it does rain, just to double check. But for now, all I can do is let it set up and see what happens.
Yeah, and the weather we've had since has given us a proper test of how good the roof repairs are.
Oh, yeah. So far, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's all looking good. And we've also got the little petrichor back up and running in our spare bedroom.
Yes, we because we moved the position of the petrichor, we needed to get some more pipes. So we've got a longer chimney, but that gives us more heat into the room. And we tested that, which also tested the chimney, and it's all working.
It all worked, yeah. It's all good.
Yeah. I also adjusted tiles and things on the roof to try and make sure we were definitely watertight at that end, and it seems to have worked.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, we should have a dry winter inside the loft.
Well, certainly on this end of the house.
Fingers crossed, yeah. The other end,
we'll look at it the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We know there's no huge problems there at the moment, but we've probably got
certainly not that we're aware of.
A few little bits and pieces to have a look up there.
Oh, there always is.
So after a very miserable Sunday and Monday, we decided that we needed a day out. On
Yes.
Tuesday, we went to Varna.
Yes, we had a few little errands to run.
Yeah, Adam was returning his computer to be fixed. The
Yeah.
power supply has apparently failed on it, so he took it back to Varna.
As it's under warranty, I let them pay for it.
Yeah. So while we were doing that, we felt Max had missed out on quite a lot of meals out.
Yes.
When we had visitors here, as he was staying home looking after the dogs. So we promised him a trip to his favourite restaurant.
Off we went to Happy.
So he quite happily had a day out as well.
Yes. And all in all, it filled up a wet, miserable day.
Yeah, we got back just in time to feed the dogs for the evening, and I think we all enjoyed our day out.
I think
really.
we did, yeah.
You can tell the weather's changing because all the cats now permanently reside inside the house.
We currently have 3 next to us on the sofa.
Yeah.
And the other 2 are on the other chairs.
Yeah.
But yes, we know it's getting colder, but we did have a dry day yesterday.
We did.
And I took the opportunity to fit in some of the little, you know how we like to make things and cook things and brew things. Well, a couple of jobs we did this week. Well, it's that time of year again. The sloes are in abundance this year. Well, all the fruit has been this year. So we're up here picking sloes to make our Christmas sloe gin. And of course, once we finish picking the sloes, we've brought a second bag so we can pop into the pine woods and get some pine cones. And if you get fed up picking sloes, you could always stop and admire the view. Not bad for November, is it? We wrapped up warm. I'm not sure we needed to have bothered. Now that the sloes are picked, it's time to turn them into sloe gin. So what we need for this is we need the sloes that we picked, we need a bottle of gin, and we need some brown sugar. Now it's a 70 centilitre bottle, so we need 350 grams of sloes and 175 grams of the sugar. They all get mixed together, but you also have to prick the sloes so that the juice can be extracted. But the first thing to do is to mix the gin with the sugar so that the sugar can be dissolved into the gin. So I'll just pour the gin in. Now I've used a very big jar for this, the reason being that we may add to it as time goes on. We've got more sloes that we've picked, but this is the only actual bottle of gin we have at the moment. So that's why we're using such a big jar for this job. And now I should have brought a spoon, shouldn't I? Okay, just free up any stuck bits. And then we'll give it a stir just to dissolve the sugar. And here's the gin with the sugar dissolved in it, and you can see it's already taken on the colour of the sugar. This is going to add to the colour of the gin when it's finished. But our next job is to prick the sloes and pop them in the gin. The easiest way I found to do this, next part, is just with a knife. Just pop it into the sloe, pop it in the gin. That way you're making sure that the juice can get out and flavour the gin for you. You can always put just a little slit in it rather than just a hole. That will also help. You'll find as time goes on the stones will come out of the sloes. That's not a problem. All you're doing is extracting the flavour here. And now I've got all the sloes, they've all been cut and put into the gin. The next thing you do, seal up your jar, give it a good shake. Now that just helps the gin get into the sloes and start extracting the flavour. We leave that down here in the cellar, in the dark, come down every day, give it another shake for at least the first 2 weeks, and then it stays in the jar for the next 2 to 3 months. We will be adding another bottle of gin and some more sloes to it and just topping it up a bit, but for now that's the start of the gin, so if you want to give it a go, this is how you do it. Well, I'm taking a chance, as it's not raining at the moment, to fit in an impromptu brew day. One of my recipes from back in England. I'm still working out my actual setup here, but now I've got this outdoor summer kitchen, I can brew out here quite happily. I'm not in Lynn's way, so we'll just do a bit of this. I'll show you some of it as I go along, not all of it, but yeah, it's quite nice to get out and actually do something that's not up on the roof. Well, you saw me just now sparging, which is rinsing some of the starches off of the grain into the actual beer, well, wort, which will be beer. I'm now about to put the hops in. Now these are pellets, they pop in there. That's the start of the boil. You can see it's boiling quite nicely. They'll boil in there for an hour. There'll be other additions, but you don't need to see those. I'll come back when we're ready to do the next bit. So we're now transferring the unfermented beer or wort into the fermenting bucket. That will then have the yeast added, be put down in the cellar, temperature controlled as best I can, and in a couple of weeks I'll have beer. So quite a constructive use of my day, I think. I've also got some more stuff to do today, but this has obviously been the thing I wanted to do rather than the thing I had to do. So I'll save it when it's all down in the cellar, but that's it for today. So that's now the beer in place. I've put it inside this barrel with water surrounding it to keep the temperature consistent, and you can see there's an aquarium heater next to it keeping the temperature of the water at a steady 20 degrees, which is the temperature I need to ferment at. So I'll put a lid on that, leave it for a week, and then be ready to do the next stage. But that's my impromptu beer brewing day complete.
Yeah, I spent the day raking up walnut tree leaves.
There's a lot of them.
Which there are a lot of outside our front.
Yeah.
And trimming a few hedges back.
Yeah. I swept half the pathway before I got fed up. Too hot, too tired. But it's looking clear for out the front and half the path.
Yeah, well, half the front. I've got the other half to do. I didn't do all of it yesterday.
But there's plenty of time, and there's still a few leaves left to come down. So
Yeah, I'm sure it'll carry on for the next week or so.
yeah, and then we can have a bonfire.
Yeah, we will be having our bonfire soon, I feel.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing. It's all been a bit stop-start this week.
Yeah, just adjusting to the seasonal weather.
Yeah. We have an afternoon for making lists of internal jobs that we can be doing, depending on temperature, because we know the weather is going to stay fairly unpleasant, and we are approaching the winter.
Well, we do some sunshine this week though,
Fingers crossed.
towards the end of the week, so that's...
But they did say last week that this week would have some, and we didn't, so I'm not holding my breath.
Yes, it can be unpredictable this time of year.
Absolutely. But I think that brings you up to date with us this week.
Yep, and I think that's all we've got to do.
I think so. So until next week, it's time for us to say,
Stay safe.
be well.
Daskaro.
Daskara.